Oh, hey there. I was just loading some cartridges into this cartridge belt. What's that? How is a cartridge belt made? Well, I'm glad you asked. The footage you're about to see is from me making this very cartridge belt. Enjoy! The first step is going to be I'm going to take this strip. I'm going to just dunk it into my water bowl. Now I did this with this 45 Colt portion of the cartridge belt, and so there's already some dye in my water. Just like shaping a holster, if you get it too wet, you'll have to wait for it to dry out a little bit. What I've done to get to this point is I've taken this piece of leather here, run it through to the back side, and I've sewn it in with this other piece. It's easier to see how I start on this end. Stitched in, and then go up through that slot. Now, in order to make a cartridge loop, you take your bullet belt, and I've got a leather lacing needle stuck on the end of this. Back down through the same slot you started in. Probably a good idea to use dummy rounds for this. Pull that tight. It's almost like sewing, but with leather. Back down through that same slot. You want to make sure and not get a twist in this. Obviously it won't work if you get a twist in it. So then, I put that in, I pull it snug, and I use this almost as a key. And you can see that's really loose now, but it snugs the previous cartridge up. Now I'll hold my finger on the back side here and pull that tight. If you don't hold that down, it'll push both layers through and loosen up your previous cartridge loop. Pull it tight as if it's a piece of thread. Right back down through that same hole again. And I'm turning it and pulling to snug up this cartridge loop. I'll hold my finger on the back side, right there again, and pull. And I'm using pretty good force to pull that tight, because you don't want these to get loose in the future. This one's a little bit loose. I can move it freely. This one, it's pretty snug. Those will be fine. So this one, I'm going to snug up like that. I'm going to pull it tight. But now we have to attach it to the belt. Sorry about that. Kicked the tripod a little bit. I need my overstitch wheel, which I had out a minute ago. Here it is. Alright. So now I'm going to remove that last cartridge. Flatten this so that I can work right here. I'm going to tie in to that as one of my stitches. So I'll work off of that. Now I'll have 5 stitches. The first and last one are on the outside of the cartridge strip piece. And these other 3 will go through this piece. Now I'm going to mark where I need my holes, and I'm just going to do that with my sewing needle. Because the cartridge strip leather is wet, that sewing needle will leave marks just fine. And now what I'm going to do is go just a little bit tighter than where those marks are at, because I want that last cartridge loop to tighten up a little bit. Not that much. Now we gotta pull it open. There we go. Okay. Now I'll take these. If you grab both needles, too much stuff in my way, and pull until they're even. Now I'll go through here and down, which will bring us up through the front, like so. Go down, pull that stitch tight, and just keep on going. A couple of things. Now sometimes these holes are hard to find, so you can come through the front and open that hole up. Makes it a lot easier to find. Pull that thread through. If I didn't mention it, this cartridge leather, this 4 to 5 ounce leather that I'm weaving around the cartridges, is wet. I cased it prior to starting. You can't do this with dry leather. Obviously, if you know anything about leather working, you know that forming it, it has to be wet. Okay. Now, in order to keep everything put, I'll backstitch this. So basically, I'll just sew in reverse through the same holes. And that locks everything in place. And this belt is going to have a liner glued in and sewed in, so you won't see the back. Once it's all finished. Oops. That's why that felt goofy. Now usually I just backstitch, and if this belt was going to be unlined, I would probably cut my threads off on both sides there. Since this belt is going to be lined, I'm going to pull this back here so that both tails are on the end. That's a simple overhand. And then I'm just going to add an extra loop. Make sort of a logger's knot there. Tie that. And I'll just leave those tails long. Doesn't matter because it's getting lined. Take my knife. Trim off the excess. And then we'll stick that last cartridge back in there and get that opened up. Actually, I'm going to use one of these because it has a rounder nose. That shoulder there doesn't always like to push through when I'm trying to stretch a loop out. I just happen to have a full box of these lead nose ones handy. There you have it. Simple as that. Now I can get this lead nosed one in there and it'll all look the same. And that same method applies to these 30/30 cartridge slots as well as any other caliber. Although with these 30/30 cartridges, I pulled the leather tight to where it grabs around this neck so as to center them on the belt, because little things like that make a big difference. Here's a couple of views of the belt with the cartridges in it. This is a footage that I took from a different video. Thanks for watching. I hope that the footage you've seen was useful. And if you've got more questions that I didn't answer, feel free to drop them in the comments or shoot me an email. That's in my channel description. If this is way above your head but you like the quality of an Arizona Kid rig, feel free to shoot me an email and we'll start you a quote. Thanks for watching. As always, we will see you on the next video.